When the wind blows cold on the shores of Lake Erie, the Queen City moans her sad, lonely song. Her streets are empty, but for handfuls of scattered souls, scurrying to escape the chill. Most are gathered at the warm watering holes that garnish every street corner, offering respite for the weary. The air hangs thick and is warmed by the hot takes that resound from the wooden walls. We find ourselves on the doorstep of such a place, with the champions of mediocrity about to set off on another long-winded journey. The windows are already beginning to fog with the balmy bloviations. As the door creaks open, a rush of warm air ushers the velvet voices of the 716 Sports Podcast.
Hello, boys. We're here after a very not interesting Sabres trade deadline day.
No, not interesting in the slightest.
Welcome back. It's been 2 weeks off. Hey, Nick.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
How are you?
Good.
How was your trade deadline day?
It was good.
It's like watching a Roman Reigns pay-per-view main event. Super predictable and really disappointing at the end result.
But it's what management wants. So,
It's all about what management. He's a man of the people, demanding. First, before we begin, hey, shout out to Justin's friend Chris. Just watch your ass tonight, buddy. Don't want to come get drinks with me and my daughter at the Kings game. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
First deadline today for bots, and kind of a drop dead one. I think he kind of hesitated. Maybe, I don't know. He didn't see much. Kane didn't get much of a haul for him naturally, but I was expecting more. I was kind of expecting a bit of a shake-up here today. And I thought you'd see someone like Gergensons go, or definitely at least Pouliot and Georges, but just Kane, and it was a minor pull compared to what everybody else got today.
Yeah, I think maybe Pouliot and Georges could go for some very late round picks, and at which point is it worth making that move? And teams aren't exactly throwing themselves at the concept of Josh Georges. I'm kind of a little surprised that he couldn't get a 6th or a 7th for Pouliot, but is a 6th or a 7th for Pouliot really your make or break for the deadline day? I'm sure he explored those more hockey trades, the Reinhardts and Gergensons and Larsons of the world, and it didn't seem like it was a hockey trade market. It was very much a seller's market, especially look how much guys like Rick Nash got. There were just teams looking to add that one piece of the deadline. A lot of those teams that are in the playoffs hunt, except for maybe Vegas, are right up against the cap and had to really play around with some contracts. Look at the Brassard deal for Pittsburgh going through Vegas and all they had to go through just to fit him under the cap.
Yeah, there was some cap acrobatics for sure, and other teams like Tampa Bay basically just hit the warp whistle for their run to the Stanley Cup final. It certainly seems like they would be the favorite, probably in the whole league at this point, with their acquisitions of McDonough and Smith Miller out of New York today. But with Botterill, there seems to be two prevailing thoughts. One is that he was trying to make a deal, and you can only make the deals that are presented to you. And at various points today, we heard that the only thing that Evander Kane could fetch were these conditional first-round picks, and the conditions were put on him because he's still 2-3 years later, even 4 years later, depending on what you think about his career, is considered to be something of a pariah, I think, in hockey terms, with the old school general manager crew that we see. And so because of what happened in Atlanta, what happened in Winnipeg, and what's happened in Buffalo, it is an accumulation of incidents. He was not thought very highly, and that was expressed today. Now, we have heard that the Sharks were not in the mood to acquire rental players, that they were looking for guys that they could sign long-term. Evander Kane's conditional first-round pick that he drew is that he re-signs with the San Jose Sharks, and if that's the case, then the Sabres will get the Sharks' 2019 first-round pick. If not, it turns into a second-rounder. So you add that in with a conditional fourth-rounder in 2020, which feels light years away at this point, and somebody that Jack Eichel played with in college, which seems to be a key component for a lot of things going on right now. Somebody who has made very little impact in a short amount of time, admittedly, but seems to be somewhat of a middling prospect, I would say, for the Sharks.
We know he's a good young player, but the Sharks have a lot of young talent that are already on their roster, and he's been kind of nipping at the heels for a little while now, but couldn't really break that door open because not a lot of opportunity, But he's got a decent point per game average in the AHL, and we'll see what he can do in the AHL. Greeley knows him, the Sabres assistant coach, and I don't think he would pull that trigger if he didn't think it was a viable prospect.
He's 24, so he's a little bit older than what you may be looking for when it comes to a prospect. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about the guy. Got to wait and see what happens, but it is certainly interesting that you keep acquiring guys that Jack Eichel's familiar with, coaches that Jack Eichel's familiar with. They certainly have a set plan, and that set plan is to please Jack Eichel.
If the feeling after last weekend was that the Bruins are very poised after signing Gianta and Nash to be running for the 2009 Stanley Cup, the Sabres have positioned themselves in a perfect position to win the 2015 Beanpot Trophy with the Jack Eichel line from Boston University.
A lot of people have said about Northeastern winning this year, sneaking in there for the first time in 30 years. Got to bring that sucker home back to the Terriers. So
you got to feel bad for Botterill, though. It's, not a good showing for his first deadline, first year as a whole, and Halsey's not looking too great as a hire this far. He didn't quite a great team, but Botterill. Bilesman got a whole lot more out of this team last year than Halsey's getting this year.
Feels like that.
Very little turnover also.
Yeah, it has been that. And I also think that Tim Murray, he didn't actually do a ton in his last two trade deadlines, but in his first two trade deadlines, he moved Ryan Miller and Steve Ott to St. Louis. That was a massive deal. And then the next year was the move where they sent Matt Molson and Cody McCormick up to Minnesota. And then those two guys immediately came back and re-signed. So you got a ton of assets. None of them really turned into much of anything, but you got a lot out of those deals. And so to not have that blockbuster move, I think people were disappointed that there was a condition on the first round pick. I think they were thinking maybe you're getting somebody that's already NHL ready, maybe, kind of like even if it was a third or fourth liner, somebody that we know can skate 15 minutes a game in the NHL on a consistent basis, something like that. And then there were all the auxiliary pieces too. This is a team that's moved Torrey Mitchell and Brian Flynn and others for, mid to low round draft picks. Admittedly, they're probably never going to turn into anything, but you got something for them. There's all these expiring contracts on this roster that you're just going to turn over, it looks like, at this point, and not really be able to acquire anything out of them, which that's the disappointing part. That's why you hope that you can move Benoit Pouliot for a 6th-round pick or something like that. It's what we've had in the past that was disappointing this time, I think.
Yeah, it's been a letdown the past few deadlines. They did nothing last year, right? Nothing.
Infamously nothing. I think that was the end of GMTM's good graces amongst the Buffalo sports fans. They couldn't believe that nothing happened.
Yeah, there was expectations that you make a move, and I think that the Sabres were in a move to maybe at least attempt an acquisition of somebody, maybe not necessarily making a playoff push last year, but certainly someone that would have had multiple term, maybe a guy that was expiring this year, but this was the year that you made it. And that lack of a move last year has been apparent this year, where the team just kind of got older, slower, didn't really infuse the new talent correctly, and we've seen more of the same disappointing play. This is, quite frankly, this season's as disappointing as any season, because even during the tank years, you could at least see what the plan was. Right now, I don't know what direction this team's going. I don't see any way that this team gets better in any significant way over the next couple of seasons.
Nick, you had an interesting tweet earlier about the organization as a whole. Can you please...
would you like me to quote it?
Please quote.
Yeah, because I don't recall exactly. I want to get the words right.
But we strive for accuracy here.
I don't want to. I'm just a podcaster, but I want to make sure it's done right.
You're not even trained properly.
Yes, exactly. You got to make sure you have the training.
And shout out to Justin's coworker Chris again. I want to say hi to him.
I'm looking at my past. Oh, I actually had a good retweet of Bottoms Up earlier. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was actually a really good tweet.
That's how you use social media.
My tweet, and this was before all the trades happened. It's probably about noon or so. that breaking, the Sabres are a trash organization with trash management. And I could have gone farther, but I figured, let's just stop there. I don't want
to be nice.
I don't want to upset anybody.
Nice.
Because, people know that we have trash management, and the organization as a whole is not a very good organization. But I do want to go back to earlier when you guys said that Murray didn't do anything last year. How dare you besmirch the career of Matthew Bodie, who he acquired for Dan Catenacci from the Rangers. He has a storied history of playing with the now Syracuse Crunch this year. He has 4 goals in 22
So he
games.
did play in Buffalo this year.
Yes, he did. He did. You were right.
Well, there you go.
So we got Chad Dedominicis, crushed his name out there.
Attaboy.
He's gonna come on and talk about Deadline with us here, but
Say his last name again?
Dedominicis.
Well done.
Chad from Die by the Blade, the SB Nation blog.
Yes, indeed.
Dedicated to all things Sabre. God bless him for having to produce content every day this season.
Hello.
Chadwick. Hello, Chad.
Oh.
Chad.
Well, this is awkward.
This is really awkward.
We're going to keep all this in.
Every bit of it.
We haven't edited anything in post, so why start now?
No.
Chad. Hello, Chad.
Well, he can... Oh, your master plan of going on the fly.
Seamlessly putting him in the middle of this show has fallen apart.
Hello?
This is why we're
there you
podcasters,
go.
everybody.
Can you hear
That's
us?
a lot better. That's a lot
There
better.
we go. Now we're money, dude. Sorry to leave you hanging, Chad. Get it?
Oh.
Boy.
Oh, man. Bet you never heard that one before.
That was original. That was a good one.
Yeah. 2000 called, and they're like, that's pretty dated, but good try.
So what's up? Thanks for buzzing us in today.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
So, Jeff, why don't you grab the headphones over here?
Chad, thanks for joining us. Got Justin, Bill, Jeff, and Nick, and we're just kind of talking about the overall disappointing feeling that this trade deadline has left us here in Jason Botterill's first season at the helm of general manager. And I think everybody was expecting Evander Kane to move, but I think that they were expecting 2 other things. I think that they were expecting a surefire first-round pick for Kane, and I think they were also expecting some auxiliary moves, whether it be Benoit Pouliot or something else. And none of that happened today. The condition existing on the first-round pick that the Sharks will be giving up is that Evander Kane must re-sign with the Sharks. It seems like that's a pretty big risk overall. How did you assess Botterill's first trade deadline today?
Well, first of all, on the 2019 pick, it's re-sign, and if the Sharks win the Stanley Cup, it becomes a first-round pick too. But that's kind of a long shot. But I guess there really are 2 avenues to get a first-round pick still. Overall, on the day, for me, the Kane trade wasn't surprising. That's kind of how it's been going for the last month and a half, and I've been kind of telling anybody who would listen. The price went down significantly. Nobody was willing to pay it. It was a conditional second that could have become a first, which it was, a mid-level prospect, and then they got an extra pick on top of it. So that's kind of what I was expecting the last month or so. I know people wanted that first-round pick, especially seeing Nash go, and Tatar gets a first-round pick, and Stastny gets a first-round pick, and Brassard, and so on. So it's kind of frustrating, but I'm not surprised by it. And then the other moves like Pouliot, Georges, I don't know. Again, I mean, those guys can barely stay in the lineup on one of the worst teams in hockey. I mean, I don't really expect another team to come calling on them. Maybe Pouliot, I'm a little bit surprised someone didn't bite on something, but not all on Georges. But altogether, I wasn't expecting much unless they were going to pull a hockey deal off. I kind of thought it was going to go Kane, and that's really it. But again, I mean, like I said, it's frustrating, but to me, it was not surprising.
So big picture, where do you see them going from here now, given the fact that they were, it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of avenues at this point other than a long rebuild again, basically, where they're going to have to, score a high draft pick and start, getting some of these guys out of the AHL and up into the NHL. It feels like we're another still 2 or 3 years away from the playoffs, to me at least. What do you see?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, look at New Jersey and Colorado last year. New Jersey's a playoff team. Colorado's right outside them. They were 2 of the worst teams in the league last year. You get some things that happen quickly, like what New Jersey did. That should be the model that Sabres follow. They got out the old veteran players who couldn't skate. They brought in some young kids like Keisher, who they got first overall, so they got the ping pong ball bounce. Miles Wood came up, he can skate. They got Will Butcher in free agency, he can skate. Jesper Bratt came out of nowhere as a 5th-round pick. He can skate and score. I mean, you get a couple nice things to go your way. You never know. Now, by no means am I predicting that, but I don't think it has to be a long rebuild. I mean, Middlestat is a guy who could make an impact next season. I don't want to put too much on him. And then, you got CJ Smith who could play next year. You're going to have Gooley up on the Sabres next year. So you're going to have some guys coming, and that doesn't account for what Bottle is going to do, too. Maybe he moves out a big piece and brings something else in. And it's possible. Could it be a long rebuild? That's how it looks today because it's frustrating. But it doesn't mean that you can't get a few things to go your way in the offseason. Maybe you get that ping pong ball to bounce your way this time, and you get Dahlin or you get Svechnikov or Vodina, one of those guys, and they're a big impact player next year.
Now, the biggest name on top of the trade boards a lot of people had today was Erik Karlsson, who ends up not going anywhere, at least for now. You maybe table that until the offseason, and then you get to that offseason when no one knows what's going on with these teams. Are there players on this roster right now, do you think they're going to be off-season, whether it's draft day or free agency trade fodder, that you see possibly not coming back to this team next year?
There's a few guys. Reinhardt is always a question mark. I think he's played better. Even Bottle went out of his way to mention him, that he's played better. So I kind of think they're going to stick around with him. And plus, he's not going to be that much money. I mean, if you look at guys like what Tyler Johnson got, and even Galchenyuk, and they're more notable players, and they're around the 4.7, 4.5 range. So you think Reinhardt's going to come under there, and that's doable on a bridge contract. So I can see him sticking around. O'Reilly is a guy who possibly could get moved, but I don't know. Bottle also seemed pretty, I guess, up for the idea of keeping him around for the future. One guy that I will say to watch, which is, I guess, is drastically different in my change of opinion, is Ristolainen. I think he's gone backwards this year, and especially in Housley's system. It could be the guys he's paired with, but I don't know. He's been with Scandell a lot of the season, so I don't know. If somebody comes calling and maybe there's a way to swap defenders there, maybe Carolina calls and they'll give you one of your guys, you give them Ristolainen, it's a hockey trade type deal. But he's somebody I would definitely keep an eye on because Housley's that defensive coach, and he's going backwards in his system, and it's drastically different than how it was last year when no one wanted to trade him.
So I'm going to go back to the Kane trade for a second here. So obviously not as much of a pull for the Sabres as players like Hartman and Stastny got, and especially Rick Nash. Now, do you think it was more his rep, which obviously had a huge part to do with it, or do you think all the GMs around the league kind of knew this was Botterill's first year as a GM and really had pressure to make this trade and kind of really had his hand forced and kind of played him like a fiddle a bit?
No, it was 100% his reputation. I texted with some people last night, and the overall opinion I got back, and I even quoted one when I put out a tweet today, is his rep is killing him. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't had the issues really the last year and a half in Buffalo. And being around him in the locker room this year, he's been a more mature player. He's been a more mature guy. But once you have the reputation, it's tough to shake. And the thing in the first round picks that I remember too is Brassard has term on his contract. Hartman's an RFA. Rick Nash is a UFA, but I don't know. I think Boston kind of overpaid for that, to be honest. But some of the other guys that got first round picks, even Tatar, they have term on their contract. So that's something that wasn't working in Kane's favor. And then when you add the off-ice stuff, and then not that many teams are interested. Teams really weren't calling about Kane until this week, and it was only Anaheim and San Jose the last 24 to 48 hours, and Anaheim didn't want to pony up, and San Jose did, and that's why he's there.
So we heard a lot of conversation about Calgary today too. Was that was just smoke at this point?
I think the Flames are always there. From what I was told, it was, as of last night, it was St. Louis, Philadelphia, Anaheim, and San Jose. And really, San Jose and Anaheim are the really only contenders. Calgary was in the game. They were keeping tabs. I think they were also interested in a guy like Pouliot. I also thought they kicked some tires on Leonard. But with how well Gillies has played the last couple games, they decided to stay with him, which I don't blame them for that. I honestly was intrigued maybe by the idea of acquiring Gillies, but with Mike Smith being hurt in Calgary, that just wasn't a possibility. But I don't know. I think they kicked some tires, but you even heard Conroy say today that they're not interested in Reynolds, really. They were looking for more of a hockey trade. They liked their core. They didn't want to move any big piece off the roster, so they kind of stayed pat where they were at. And then claimed Chris Stewart too, so that kind of took it right out of the picture there.
So we now head towards the home stretch of the Sabres season, which, I mean, no playoffs in sight, nothing positive for the fans in the building. What is going to be key, do you think, for them from a player development standpoint, at least to trying to draw something positive out of the remaining games here that they have this season?
I don't know. Find a way to watch Amerks games. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's really not even that many young players here. Eichel's not playing. It's a lot of veteran guys. A lot of guys aren't going to the roster next season. I don't know. Hopefully Rodriguez keeps progressing. I guess you could say Reinhardt keeps scoring. I guess Casey Nelson's been a real nice surprise. You can root for him, root for Antipin to keep going. But beyond that, I don't know. Grin and bear, grit your teeth for 19, 18 games here, and we're in the home stretch. Watch some Amerks games, watch some prospects, and maybe that'll get you through.
Yep. Do you see any of these guys moving down to Rochester potentially for a playoff push? The guys that are on the two-way contracts, would that even make a little bit more sense than keeping him up here and just kind of playing out the string, or is that kind of just wishful thinking?
They can't right now, and the reason is because then you got to bring somebody up from Rochester.
Oh,
So I mean, Rodriguez is getting to that point where he might have to clear waivers to go through, and I don't even think they sent him down today because there was a paper transaction that had to happen today, where players had to be sent down in order to be eligible for the AHL playoffs. They did that with Nelson and Baptiste. I don't think they did that with Rodriguez, but I'd have to double check that. So Rodriguez definitely won't be going down, but when the season's over, I would definitely assume that both Baptiste and Nelson would join the Amerks, and maybe you never know how the NCAA tournament goes. They might get a boost from Middlestat too, but look, it kind of depends on when the season ends for him.
Well, we're hoping for that Nathan Page call up to happen at some point. But very good. Well, Chad, I last question for you, I guess, for me is I don't know if you're a season ticket holder or not, or if I'm sure you know a lot of people that are. There's a lot of frustration with the secondary market. The marketplace is basically caved. It's very difficult for season ticket holders right now to be justifying any value when their tickets are going for a sixth of what they are costing on face value currently on StubHub or SeatGeek or one of those sites. What can the Sabres do in the off season to kind of reclaim some of the relationship that they've lost with their season ticket holders, and going forward into the 2018-2019 season, do you see any sort of incentive for a lot of people? Because it does seem, certainly, if you're going off the results that we've gotten this season, that we may be seeing kind of an exodus of season ticket holders from the Sabres.
Yeah, it's tough. And I was part of a season ticket group until last season when we gave up the tickets. I mean, the primary reason I jumped out is because I had season tickets last year. I didn't go to one of the games I had because I was in the press box. But I couldn't get my games away either. And it's the same thing this season, and it's tough, And it's not fun to watch games, but, I mean, we kind of, I think we say this every year, all right, I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm not doing this anymore. And then you kind of heard that last year, and then how much were people excited for this season? I mean, they make a couple moves, and, ooh, look, there's the shiny Casey Middlestat object. Oh, look, Brendan Gooley's going to be here. They're going to be better. They went and got so-and-so. They got Noah Hannafin. He's the man of the team this year. I think there's always ways. I mean, from a season ticket holder perspective, they have to give them more benefits. I feel like they're one of the worst teams in the league doing that. There really is. I mean, they added some giveaways this year, but other than that, there's really no benefits to being a season ticket holder except you pay more than everybody else who sits next to you. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, there's going to be some people who walk away, but I still think people who are saying that now, once you get through the off season, there's going to be that excitement getting through it every single year.
All right. Well, Chad, thanks for hopping on tonight. We do appreciate it. And everybody go check out Die by the Blade, SB Nation's Sabres blog. I would say it's the #1 source on the internet for Sabres content. We do appreciate it. Chad, have a good night. Thanks for joining us on Trade Deadline Day.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, great group of bloggers over there. Oh, they didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I was going to get a Harrington shot in there.
No, that's okay.
Oh, well.
Mike Harrington, friend of all bloggers.
and our boy from the AP.
Well, can we talk about Harrington and Waro actually owning somebody today? Because it actually happened.
Yeah, do
Mike Wright? What is
Mike
it?
Straw.
Mike Straw. It was some sort of granular noun last name. I couldn't come up with it. Poor Mike Straw. This fella here just throwing spaghetti against the window and praying to God that it's going to stick. We'll cut that in post. And the guy came up with Robin Lehner is unhappy in Buffalo, despite, I think, dozens of times where Robin Lehner has been asked about his status and him saying that he wants to be part of the solution. Now, whether or not that was lip service or not, I don't know, but we have it on record that the guy wants to be a part of it. And here he was going out on a limb on trade deadline day saying that he felt that Leonard was going to possibly be moved. And boy, oh boy, did that not happen. Like, I don't even think, other than Chad just mentioning possibly Calgary very preliminarily looking at things, that didn't happen. So chalk one up in the wing book for Mike and John today, as they totally destroyed this guy.
It's kind of silly to say he's unhappy. He's unhappy here, and he later tweeted he's unhappy because he's not the guy of the future, and Allmark is, and he knows that. And that's why he wants to be traded, which makes sense if you got a 2-3 year deal, but he's on a 1 year deal. He's going to
make it. It's speculative. He shot his shot, and he missed horribly. And that's it. And, you know, those are the kind of moments that, for people like anybody that's not part of the institutional control, the television stations, the newspapers, the wire services, or the radio stations, that gives everybody a bad look. And he's never going to probably come out and say what his sourcing was or anything like that. You can defend the guy all you want. It was a rough day for the non-MSM when it came to that, right? It looked bad. Yeah. But they were right.
Well, I know he's right. Like, he's like, arguably, you could say that he definitely was this guy's source, completely just throwing it out there.
Sure.
But leaving Harrington just be like, well, you couldn't have possibly been right. You didn't go to you aren't a trained journalist. Like, what's a trained journalist? Like, what has Mike Harrington done that the four of us in this room haven't done other than write for a newspaper?
Lived 55 years.
That's not combined.
True.
But true so far.
So far. We'll hope,
like,
God willing, one of us will get there.
There's no crazy thing. There's no, like, military-grade newspaper writing training. And this is the guy that comes from the same newspaper section in the sports that can't get half the players in the Buffalo Buttes name right. I don't want to tell me that, like, the newspaper is the glory god of writing about hockey.
I understand that, but anybody that was trying to fight, we are constantly trying to fight against that stereotype here. And today, it was... One guy took a real big hit on that.
You got another Twitter site out there. It's got a bunch of followers, a Buffalo blog, and they're obviously refreshing Twitter every 3 seconds and tweeting everything that the big guys are tweeting right after they tweet it, and not giving any credit, just saying it like they knew.
Yeah,
like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah, and
we need this validation. Like, fuck.
It's also funny too. Hockey in general doesn't have the Adrian Wojnarowski or the Adam Schefter types. Bob McKenzie's great. I'm not dismissing Bob McKenzie. Darren Drager. There's a lot of great insiders, but the delay in hockey versus in other sports, like, it does seem like football and basketball information breaks quicker.
Yeah, it seems like the Bob McKenzies of the world want to have every detail. When Bob McKenzie sends a tweet out, it's going to be that he knows for sure something happened, and you'll follow it up with the details right away.
Yeah, too. But I mean, like, it's a cultural thing. Woj bombs are a cultural thing in NBA Twitter, right? And it doesn't. There's no McKenzie Mac bombs or anything like that, right? On NHL Twitter,
right? It's also one of those things where, like, if you were I was following along while I was at work, refreshing my Twitter feed, and Waro posted something about it being really quiet, and then literally the next tweet is like, San Jose is getting Kane. It's like,
that was pretty funny.
It's almost as if sports media, at least hockey media in this area in Buffalo, has just set fire and just, like, burned so many bridges to contacts with the team that they have no idea what's going on.
There does seem to be a confrontational attitude. But look, without defending anybody, I will say, if that was your job to cover that team for the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, it was difficult. It's not fun. And I don't think the players are having fun. I don't think that management is really having a lot of fun. And now I really think that we're hitting a critical mass here with the fan base at this point.
I was kind of thinking about the same thing earlier. Like, you're Buffalo Sabre, and the media is the media here, and it's already kind of not a great start to the game. And you're starting to think, oh, fuck, we got to go to the locker room and talk to these assholes afterwards. And you're already kind of getting checked out of the game even more. Like,
and the media is thinking, we got to go talk to these assholes again. They're not trying. It's the same interview. How many times have we had the same interview?
Yeah, and it's one thing holding the team accountable, and but it's like this. It's not even like holding them accountable anymore. It's like these petty turds just like peddling their shitty agenda. It's the same thing.
Come here, Simpson, sit in the corner and tell me what you guys did wrong today, basically.
But they never. But they say the same thing over and over again too. It's tough because you wish that they would say something different. They're not going to say anything different because they don't have a good relationship with these guys, so they're not going to open up and give them anything. That Jack Eichel Barstool podcast was totally different than anything that he's ever done with anybody in Buffalo media. Why? Because he was comfortable. He didn't feel like there was somebody going after him, so he opened up a little bit. Showed a little bit more personality. That doesn't happen because nobody's really willing. We just lost the one guy that had any sort of I don't even want to call it like millennial sense, but Jonah Javad had this more modern sense of how to present the news and report. And now he's gone to Dallas because he doesn't, Buffalo can't handle that. And he got a promotion. Good for him. Friend of the podcast, I think we can say that on record. Tom Martin, another guy. We lose these younger guys, right? And these TV personalities. And, we still have Biscalia's good on Channel 7, but this old guard that we have right now in the print media, it's tough because it feels like their goal is to prove that the teams aren't good or that there's faults in every move that's being made. And when you're a fan, you don't want to constantly have your source for news and information feel like it has this negative connotation to it at all times. And right now it's gotten to the point where, tank or no tank, it feels like anything that Mike Harrington says is in the context that I was right about the tank. And that's just because he was going back and forth. And look, he had his position, and at this point, it basically feels like he's been proven right. Other than Jack Eichel, there's not a whole lot here to be satisfied with over that 2 to 3 year stretch, whatever you want to call it. But every piece of reporting by him feels like it's in that context of, well, I told you so. You should have listened to me. That kind of context. And that's what's frustrating, because even if he tries to have something positive said, it feels like he's taking a shot at half the fan base that didn't agree with him back then.
Take a shot at half the fan base. Remind you, you're only a real Buffalo sports fan if you're mad that they tanked, and then tweet that he can't believe that no one pays to read him right. I mean, it's hard, man. It's real hard right now. There's not, like, John Vogel seems like a good dude. Seems like he's pretty straightforward. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that have any sort of animosity towards him. But between Mike Harrington, between Jerry Sullivan swooping in and saying that the Kane trade today is part of the legacy of Tim Murray acquiring Evander Kane 4.5 years ago. Like, it's just, and of course, Sully's never going to take the opportunity not to take a shot. That's what he does. He comes in, says you suck, goes out. That's what he's done for a long time. He's good at it. He gets reaction. That's what he gets paid to do, is get reaction. But it just feels like the Amy Moritz and the John Vogels and those guys, we don't have those guys on a regular basis. Ty Dunn, he's gone out of the news. So It's just frustrating right now. I don't know what it would take. It's probably not going to be anything that changes for a long time, but like it or not, Mike Harrington is the face of Buffalo Sabres news coverage as a whole more than anything else at this point. And it's a real negative attitude and a real negative vibe around the team, whether you agree with him or not, because the people that agree with him are just taking their shots like, told you so. We suck. Ha. I win. Great. Congratulations on winning your argument.
You know, it's a toxic environment right now. It really is a toxic environment, and it's hard.
Also, shout out to longtime Buffalo News alumni writer Kimberly Martin, who was here for all of 5 weeks before getting run out of town.
Something like that. She didn't get run out of town. She got a better job.
Well, yeah, but
she went down with Washington Post, right?
Yeah, she had every reason to get out of Buffalo because they treated her like garbage.
Never heard of her.
Yeah,
she was awesome.
She was great.
What'd she write?
She
wrote for the Bills for 5 weeks or 6 weeks.
5 or 6 weeks. And now she's writer for the Redskins.
And while we're doing shout out to Justin's coworker Chris, who hates me. So I'm glad that I hope he listened to that soliloquy.
Well, for good reason.
Really red faced. Yeah, I know. I hate you. You hate me.
It's mutual.
We're a happy family.
There's a good balance.
Big ups to literally every other part of the Pagola Sports and Entertainment Empire for having a bigger day than the Sabres today. Shout outs to the KeyBank Center for bringing me Metallica so I can spend another couple $100 to watch Metallica play at the arena. Shout out to the newest member of the Buffalo Bill, Mr. Vontae Davis.
Vontae Davis, 1 year deal announced today just with the hashtag Bills Mafia.
You knew he was going to come here. You just I think anyone who plays defense is going to want to come to Bills Mafia.
Somebody just said, though, 2 years ago, does a guy like Vontae Davis even make a visit to Buffalo? Probably not.
No, I mean,
now he's signing here. I know it's a 1 year deal, but he's essentially the guy that's, now you have some flexibility with EJ Gaines. I don't know if they're going to re-sign him or not, but you don't feel as bad if it doesn't happen at this point.
Barstow gets kind of a bad rep. And do you think the Bills Mafia has...
Why?
Yeah, I think obviously for good reason. But do you think the Bills Mafia has the rep it has now if it wasn't for Barstool?
I think certainly the Barstools and Deadspins of the world have marketed the Bills' crazy fan base to a level that has taken it from just, you go to work the next day, like, man, you won't believe what I saw at the Bills tailgate, to some guy walks into his office in San Francisco was like, did you see what happened at the Bills tailgate? Like, it's become a national football phenomenon as opposed to just a local cultural thing. So certainly Barstool and Deadspin have made it much more of a thing than it was before.
I don't know if that was necessarily what friend of the podcast, Del Reed, wanted the Bills Mafia to be.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Knowing Del, I could tell you 100% it's not what he wanted the Bills Mafia to be, but it is what it is. And there's different, sects, we could say, of the Bills Mafia. There's the flaming folding tables Bills Mafia, and then there's the donations to Andy Dalton Bills Mafia.
Right. I mean, they kind of exist in this duality.
Very
Right?
There's a Venn diagram, and the middle of it is very big. Like there's the diehards that are going to have season tickets for the rest of their lives, and donate all kinds of money to Eric Wood's foundation and Andy Dalton's foundation, and and it's that global presence that Bills Mafia, and then you have the people who go through tables.
Bill Coward jumped through a table on national TV because Bills
Sort of.
Mafia,
Sort of.
So
it was more like
an
elbow.
It was
falling
still a thing.
with grace.
I'm saying because all this crazy coverage that gets me, these sites is like players want to come here now because the fan base is crazy, and I think that's kind of why players want to come here now.
I do. I think that I think it's actually can be a positive, and there's a little sense of danger and unpredictability with it, and it kind of harkens back to the days where the old English Premier League, before they cleaned up their act and went corporate, and there was the fans, the fan bases, the supporters were so passionate, and it was their half their paycheck went to securing a season ticket to go stand with their buddies that were these working class heroes that would go to the games and on once a week go scream for their lives, even when their team, they knew deep down that their team wasn't Manchester United, right? And I think that there is that mentality of the Buffalo Bills fan base. It's the closest thing to the old school English soccer supporter kind of mentality that we have in maybe even in all of American sports. I mean, there's certainly passionate fan bases, but no one in the last year or so has had their image either elevated or buried in the ground like Buffalo sports fans have. I love it. I think it's great. And I mean, I tailgate once or twice a year. It's not in every single lot. I've never seen somebody jump through a flaming table before. I guess I haven't seeked it out or sought it out either, but it's okay to have crazy fans and also have people that just show up at noon, go to the game, and come back home. That's fine. You need that balance.
Yes.
But good for Vontae Davis.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great move. Like you said, opens the door if we have to. We don't have to re-sign EJ Gaines, which is good. I think.
Just having that flexibility is important because maybe you don't re-sign him now.
Right. Yeah, you don't necessarily you have options, and it just opens up other holes for more, ability to sign more players, and there's one less thing we got to worry about as far as the draft is concerned, maybe, which is always good.
Seems like a mock draft change suddenly.
Yeah.
Coming up next week with that signing.
Yeah.
EJ Gaines is probably getting a pretty good chunk of money too. I mean, any kind of average cornerback, it's at least $9-10 million in the market these days, and that's the biggest chunk of change for the Bills. And I'm not sure of the terms. I know it was 1 year. Did they release the terms? But I'm pretty sure it's probably a 1 year prove it kind of deal.
I don't think it's official yet because it can't be officially announced until the league year starts. But
yeah, I know it's 1 year, but I don't. The money's probably like a 1 year prove it kind of thing. Probably like 4.5, 5.
Yeah, I would guess with his injury, whatever that was, and his rather unceremonious exit from the worst defense in the NFL last year, that it's definitely going to be a prove it type of deal.
Yeah, certainly he was struggling, but that's the kind of deal where, hey, if you can take advantage of that and grab a guy that's a little bit broken and turn him into something. I mean, the Bills have had success with this in the past. Why not try it again? To me, it's a low risk, high reward possibility. If he sucks, great. He's gone in a year. Who cares, right? But if he's a hit, maybe you can sign him for a little bit longer. Maybe you can convince. I know he's a little bit older, but you can convince him maybe to go 2 years or something like that.
How old do you think he is?
I think 33.
30, right?
29.
That's it?
He's only 29.
God,
he's played 120 games, but he's only 29.
It feels like he's been in the league forever.
He's been in the league forever. He has been for 120 games.
Absolutely, if this works out and it feels like a good fit and Davis enjoys the system and seems to feel like it's a good fit for him, then yeah, why not go another 2 or 3 years beyond that? That's crazy that he's only 29.
I know.
You come in, you talk to McDermott, you talk to some of the players. You hear about the fans intermittently as a player. There's no way you're Von Davis are coming into that visit. There's no way you're saying no to the Bills. Especially they're going to the Niners and the Dolphins, and it gets cold here sometimes, but whatever.
Yeah, you look at the way Trey White was, Tre'Davious White was on the field, doing his jumping jacks and dancing on the field in the middle of this. In that Colts game,
just embrace it.
That's what it is. Watch that game.
He went to
that's
college
all the reason why you play here.
in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They're not having storms like that in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And you know what? He embraced it and became an instant Wall of Fame candidate by doing that.
Everyone loved him for that.
It doesn't even matter his play on the field, where he was like the 7th best cornerback in the league, according to Pro Football Focus, whatever it was, right? It was just like, oh man, he's dancing, and we that forever embraced. Just yeah,
it's easy to be a Buffalo fan favorite here. You come in, try your hardest, say you like Buffalo randomly, and everyone loves you here.
That's the big
mention
thing.
Wegmans a la Tyler the Creator, and they'll
that was amazing.
Get yourself on Channel 7. Is that Reporter Channel 4? That's crazy.
Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Channel 2 always hitting all the good. This is a joke.
Oh, I thought you were.
That's
I thought we'd actually have breaking news.
Vontae Davis signs with the Browns.
Late trade call confirmed.
Breaking news: Scott Van Pelt is wearing a UB hockey jersey on his show tonight.
Oh wow!
I'm sorry, Butchie Gross on the Scott Van Pelt show, repping your NECHL champion University at Buffalo Ice Bulls.
There you go. Congratulations to them.
Shout out to them.
Another going to the national tournament now.
Yeah, conference tournament this weekend, the 2nd to the 4th, and then they'll be going to Columbus, Ohio, for the D1 Club National Championships.
No matter what happens.
That's right. Yeah, the D1 Club is regular season title, not conference title, and not conference tournament title.
Good, as it should be.
So they went 13-1 in conference, and they will be going to the D1 National Championships.
Applause to that. Yep.
They crushed it. And they only have 4 graduating seniors, so next year they could be even better.
As you know, I'm a huge supporter of UB athletics and all they do. So great to hear that. I think we should probably take a quick break because there's a rumor has it that a favored segment may be coming back for a little bit tonight. We'll have to see if that occurs or not. But we'll take a short break, regroup, think about our favorite Evander Kane memories, and we'll be right back on 716 Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to the 716 Sports Podcast. Now you're probably wondering which segment Bill was alluding to that we've brought back from the annals of the 716 Sports Podcast history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mike's Hot Food Take. Mike's Hot Food Take is sponsored by Ted's Hot Dogs. Ted's Hot Dogs, when standing in line for a couple hours to save $1,
is the best thing you can do in Buffalo. Ted's Hot Dogs, proud sponsor of the 716 Sports Podcast.
That's a good food take.
Thanks.
Like to be proud.
There wasn't a take involved, though. That's a sponsor.
No, you nailed it.
You nailed it. That's a good take.
Retire.
Appreciate it. It's actually trivia time here on the 716 Sports
Hey.
Podcast. Welcome back, Nick.
Hey, guys. It's good to be back. So, yeah, we're bringing the trivia noise this evening. There's 3 guys here. No, Mike's not here giving his food take, but he's taking care of some food, maybe. Just kidding. We've got 4 categories. You guys know the deal. It's like Jeopardy. 100, 400.
Okay.
All right, let's do the thing.
Let's take a look at our categories and see what they are. We've got 3 sports categories and 1 non-sports category, but I think it'll be fun anyways. Here we go. With NFL touchdown leaders, your second category is arena/stadium real cities. Your third category is Sabres Legends Last Team, and your final category is board game randoms.
Excellent.
Random board game questions. Justin, start us off.
Board game randoms.
All right, we'll start at the top for 100 points. These are just random board game questions for 100. How many ships does each player get in Battleship? That is Jeff.
5.
5 is correct. There you go. Where do you want to go next?
I'll keep going. Let's do
For
that.
200 points. What is the minimum amount of points needed to score to be able to get the upper section bonus in Yahtzee? That is Bill.
35.
35 is the bonus. Jeff.
63.
63 is what you need to get that 35-point bonus.
Poorly worded question. I couldn't see because of the transition.
Oh, well,
Just
that's
kidding.
Your fault.
It's great to have it back.
It is good. It's good to be back
Hey, it's great to have you.
for 300 points. In Risk, what are the only 2 continents who share the same number of additional armies at the end of the turn? There are 6 continents. 2 of them share the same number of additional armies. Justin.
Asia.
And?
Australia.
No. I mean, those are 2 continents on the
The
Earth.
look
so
of
that's a good start.
realization came over his face.
One is very open, one is very crowded.
Very crowded.
Justin or Jeff, any guess? 300 points for you. Nothing?
It's been a while.
I'm
Risk.
Yeah. Not
So
risk.
5
like
points
Europe
for
and
each
North
North
America.
America
Take a
and
risk.
Europe.
Damn it.
Asia's 7, Australia is 2,
See, I
Africa is 4, and South America is 3. Now you know.
Cool.
400 points. Hey, we got a daily double.
Let's go. I'll go 300.
300. Let's do it.
Wager all the points that I got so I can go back to 0. Even this
I like it.
sucker right up.
In Scrabble. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. How many double word squares are
Jesus.
there on a standard Scrabble board? If it helps.
I want the risk question back.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, boy.
A standard Scrabble board is 15 by 15. There are a number of double word score.
That's
Squares.
at least 100 tiles. So, good luck.
44?
44 is incorrect. You're back to 0. Any guess from my other boys? No. Correct answer. Only 17.
Oh,
Also 8 triple word scores and 1 center square.
so
And
few
H8.
opportunities.
Indeed. Jeff?
Let's go to Sabres Legends Last Team.
So we're going back to our last Eastern Conference Championship game playing team. So 06-07? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
That would
You
be
get
the one.
players that were on that team. I want you to tell me the last team they played a professional NHL game with. For 100 points. Paul Gaustad. Jeff.
Nashville.
Nashville Predators, is correct?
Smashville.
For 200. Clark MacArthur. Jeff.
Ottawa.
Ottawa is correct.
Well done,
For
sir.
300 points. Maxim Afanaganov. Justin.
Atlanta Thrashers.
The Atlanta Thrashers
Well
is
done, sir.
correct. Want to finish it off for 400?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Alesh Kotelik.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Alesh Kotelik. Last team that he played for. Justin.
Calgary Flames.
Calgary Flames is correct.
I know my old Sabres, dude.
Putting you into first place
Get
where
at
we
me.
have 2 categories left. Touchdown leaders or arena stadium real cities.
I don't know Dookie about stadiums and arenas. I'm going to go NFL TD leaders.
All right, so what we're going to do is NFL TD leaders. I'm going to name a professional football team in the NFL. You're going to tell me who has the most career touchdowns, run or caught, or combined. You guys figure it out for 100 points. The New England Patriots. Justin.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. No, we're looking for
Oh,
ran or
shit.
caught. I mean, it could be Brady.
That's the epitome of my life, that question.
That was fun. Good try.
Jeff.
Wes Welker?
Wes Welker is incorrect. Bill.
Curtis Martin.
Curtis Martin is incorrect. The correct answer was 77. It's Rob Gronkowski.
I was going to guess Randy Moss.
It wasn't. Yeah, it just wasn't.
He
There
had
long
1
enough.
year.
That's a lot. He had a lot of
Yeah, a
touchdowns.
lot of
I think.
touchdowns. Don't worry.
For 200 points. We'll just keep rolling. The Tennessee Titans. Jeff.
Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson is incorrect. Justin.
Eddie George.
Eddie George had one more than Earl Campbell. 74 touchdowns scored.
Carry on.
For 3. The Denver Broncos. Was the most touchdowns for the Denver Broncos. Bill.
Shannon Sharp.
Shannon Sharp is incorrect. Justin.
Rod Smith.
Rod Smith with 71 is correct. We'll finish it out for 4.
Getting smoked.
The New Orleans Saints. Jeff.
Deuce McAllister.
Deuce McAllister is incorrect. Any other guesses from Jeff or Bill? The correct answer. Wide receiver, Marquez Colston.
That's my first guess.
Hofstra
but
proud, baby.
It's such a storied franchise.
couldn't-
I
I
didn't
You'd
think
think there would be somebody, but he played there for like 10,
All I was
11
thinking
seasons.
was Joe Horn, and I completely forgot about
that was
Marcus
that
Colston.
was the first thing that came to my head. But I was like, no way, it's Marquise Colston.
Yeah, he has the most catches, most receptions, and most receptions, most receiving yards, and most touchdowns.
That was
for the
100 points. I
franchise.
would have guessed that. Not 400.
It's a tough one.
You double tricked us.
I did. It's what I do. It's what I do. So we have one category left: arena/stadium, real cities.
All right.
So what I'm going to do is give you an arena or stadium. I need to know the actual city it's in. So if I said New Era Field, you wouldn't say Buffalo. You would say Orchard Park.
I'm out.
Yeah, you win. All right, so just sit out.
Score update. You can't lose if you don't buzz in. So good luck.
That's what I get for continuing to guess.
For 1, T-Mobile Arena. Bill.
No crap.
Oh crap! Is that your answer?
No, that's not my final answer.
But I need an answer.
Henderson, Nevada.
Henderson is incorrect. Any guess? Jeff?
Carson City, Nevada.
Carson City is incorrect.
It isn't just Las Vegas.
It is not in Las Vegas.
Is it North Las Vegas?
It is in Paradise, Nevada. Yes, technically.
I only did 3 cities in Nevada, so I was kind
Technically,
of
most of the strip is in Paradise.
Gotcha.
I never knew it was called Paradise.
And now you do. For 2,
It's a learning opportunity.
FedEx Field. Bill.
Landover, Maryland.
Landover, MD. It's a doctor.
Mid.
That is correct. For 300 points. Oh, baby, it's a daily double.
As much as I can possibly risk.
300.
I was going to ask you to just give me all of Justin's points, but okay, yeah, 300 works.
Bill, how do you feel about Major League Soccer?
I can try it.
Red Bull Arena.
Harrison, New Jersey.
Harrison,
New Jersey.
Nick John is correct.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Ah.
Yes. For 400 points, let's finish it out with SunTrust Park. Bill.
Oh, crap. I just know the name of it. Damn it. It's Cobb County, Georgia. I don't know. It's not Gwinnett, but I'm just going to say Gwinnett.
Gwinnett is incorrect.
I know what sport the stadium is.
It's baseball. It's the Braves' new stadium.
It's
that they
Braves
just
New
built.
Stadium. It's in the wonderful
Because white people live in the
bustling
suburbs.
metropolis of Cumberland, Georgia.
I was going to guess Savannah.
Yeah, no, Cumberland. Yeah, Savannah would be a little bit of a...
I do declare.
The only town I know.
that's an episode I saw today of the... I do declare.
I do declare.
There's been a murder. Congratulations to the
Sandmans.
winner of our game. The only person with positive points, Justin, with 700 points. Well done, sir.
He also has a positive outlook.
It's probably the second time I ever won this.
Hey.
By actually answering questions.
You
Well,
know
we
where
should-
all the
we should
Sabres
not-
retired to.
We should not do this more often.
I like all the Sabres that no one likes, so.
Hey, you knew where Alesh Kodelik ended up, so good for you, man.
And Maximum Fanagan.
Yeah.
Shootout extraordinaire, Max Kodelik.
Yes, indeed.
Come on.
Good job. Well done, boys. It was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Do that again next time you come.
I will.
Thanks.
Well,
It was
there's,
fun to do.
usually, like, there's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff. Whole lot of
But
stuff.
unfortunately, this week, there's not a whole lot going on.
Smaller amount of stuff. Yeah.
But Jeff and I both were at the Buffalo Bandits game over the weekend.
Yeah, what a fucking tire fire that was.
How many goals for the Nighthawks?
Only 17, and they definitely didn't press in the fourth quarter. I believe, Nick, that was your first game of the year?
On my first Bandits game of the year.
You picked a hell of a time to show up, because as we've talked in this podcast the last few episodes with Steve and all the Bandits players, they've been playing good. They went to Rochester and beat the Nighthawks. They had a big win in Saskatchewan. They've been pounded on Georgia, and man, the wheels just came off the bus on Saturday. It was awful.
Will they start down 7-0? 8-0?
Seven, 6
7
or
or
7 before they got their first goal. Yeah, it was 4-0 really early. As the offense couldn't get in close, couldn't get anything near Vins. Their defense was allowing Rochester to do whatever they wanted. Former Bandit Joe Reseteras had 14 points for the Nighthawks. Wow. Rochester was 1-6 in their previous 7 games, and we had just beat them in Rochester. It was absolutely embarrassing. Troy Cordingley got tossed for arguing a call in the third quarter, and let's never speak of that again.
Was this just one of those games where every possible thing went right for Rochester and went wrong for Buffalo?
I mean, they got a couple bounces. They got a couple calls. I don't think that any of that really impacted the outcome of the game. I think Rochester was just better. Buffalo came out flat, and Rochester did not. And then Rochester just continued to pound away at Buffalo, and we had no answer.
How many? It was 7-0.
By the time Buffalo
Like mid-second quarter, it was 7-0. Yeah,
They went the whole first quarter without scoring. Huh?
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, we I was up in the 300s for the beginning of the game, and there were a bunch of Nighthawks fans near us. It got to a certain point where the Nighthawks fans stopped standing up when they were scoring.
It's like, we're
Like,
good.
oh, cool. They scored again.
Hey.
I just completely missed it. Then Jeff sent me a text. He's like, there's nobody sitting behind me. You want to come down? I said, yep.
Yeah, 106 cleared out right quick.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. Rough night in Bandit Land.
Yeah, they got 3 more home games and a lot of season left. They're still in a good position. If they can just relax, they have a road game and a bye week coming up here the next 2 weeks before they're back home on Friday, March 16th to the Saskatchewan Rush, and that's a real test. That's the best team, I think.
They pulled off that big upset.
They did, but now they have to back it up. Now they have to show that they can do it again, and they have a road game coming up at Colorado and a bye week in the next 2 weeks, and can just take a step. They've I think a lot of people would say they've overperformed to this point, that they've outperformed their expectation. Toronto and Rochester were supposed to be the class of the East, and Buffalo came into that game on Saturday leading the conference. Mm-hmm. So certainly not too negative of a light to put the season into. They just have to get back to the drawing board and realize what was working for them. And they'll be
one bad
okay.
performance, not a season make. Right. So,
and also, if you wanted to get tickets on StubHub, they are more expensive than almost every single Sabres game for the rest of the year.
It's worth your money, though. Those games are so much more fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's
even for a terrible game like that.
It's still a better presentation. It's still
the
overall,
atmosphere is more fun.
Yep.
Which we talked about in previous episodes. They have a much better sense of just having a good time, and I think it's just people are a little bit more carefree there. They're not quite maybe as invested in the outcome, and that's not to say that there aren't thousands of people there that are completely invested in the outcome. But I just think that they do a really nice job. In arena experience, way better, way cooler than anything else.
As opposed to a Sabres game, I think you tweeted or you can literally go study at a Sabres game.
The library right now,
and then later on, that game's a Kings game. I think I said it to my buddy Chris, and like later on, someone tweeted a picture of someone actually studying at the Sabres game.
Yeah, well, shout out to your buddy Chris first of all, but second of all, I went to 3 games in 6 days of the Sabres. I went to a Tuesday night game,
still living, against
the Lightning. I went to the Saturday game against the Kings, and I went to President's Day against the Caps. And it's frustrating to go to games right now because it's really hard to get any sense of atmosphere. Now, 2 of those games I was going. One I was with a 3.5-year-old, and she was all fired up and did not want to leave early, and that was fine. I would have gone, but that's okay. And then the President's Day game, I was there with a 6.5-year-old, and he did not want to go early, and it was just a boring. The Capitals game on that Monday was just a boring game. There just wasn't anything happening, and the Sabres cannot generate any sort of sustained offensive pressure almost ever, and therefore there's just a lot of neutral zone and defending your own ice, and so yeah, it is. The atmosphere is completely dead. If it's not the worst atmosphere currently in the NHL, I'd like to see who is.
You might have
It's them or the Yotes, so that's
Yeah.
only because no one goes to games
Arizona
out
might.
there.
Yeah, Arizona might.
Right, but I almost
Knock on
feel
your door
like,
for that.
but I almost feel like Arizona is probably, because it's a non-traditional market and they're so desperate for something, they probably just go over the top with it a little bit. Again, I haven't been there. I have been to Carolina. You guys have been to Dallas.
Uh-huh.
Dallas is amazing.
Yeah, it
Right.
was great.
But in Dallas is a little bit more established. Carolina, is constantly being rumored and basically the bait that eventually they'll go to Quebec. Who knows? But regardless of that, they're, they have a much better presentation. There's more information on the scoreboard. There's better music selection. It's not the same music over and over and over and over. Yeah. So
Aren't the Band and Sabres owned by the Pagulas?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all
it's
all
a
PC.
package deal. When
How
they
is
bought
the
the
game
Sabres,
presentation so much different one to the other? Like one's so much more entertaining to go to, and the Sabres is like a library. like we just
Well, they
said.
also frown upon Swanee making fun of the other team in hockey games for missing the net. Although that would be amazing.
Yeah, but it's like the same. You hear the same music between breaks every game. The same cut shots on the jumbotron. It's like the same graphics. Nothing.
To be fair, Swenny stopped doing the what's he got nothing chance.
Yeah, I mean, when we're down 11,
really,
I guess
really
you
early.
really should.
What's he got? Well, 6.
What's he got? An 11-goal lead there, Swanee. Well, shit.
But yeah, I think it's one of those things where you don't want to blame, put it on one person, but you got somebody like Russ Brandon who's, I don't know if he does the whole director of marketing or whatever he is with the Sabres and the Bills, if he has any sort of influence on the Bandits. And I think even remember like when Pagula announced he was buying the Sabres, I don't even think he knew that he was buying the Bandits too. Like that
was just a throw-in.
Like he was like, I think somebody in the original press conference asked him if he knew about what he was going to do with the Bandits.
Yeah.
And it was almost one of those like, what are you talking about?
Sir, you just spent $100, so you can go pick out a free pair of socks.
Yes, it's pretty much the
Go
same
right
idea.
ahead. Yeah, it's like, damn,
Sure.
they're orange and purple and
Very
black.
good.
It looks great.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those things where it's, they keep their hands off of it. They've been doing it that way for so long. I mean, I had season tickets for, probably 10 years ago. And, it's one of those things with the Bandits. You just let them go because they've been doing their own thing for a while. And maybe for a year or two, it was pretty bad as far as the in-game presentation and attendance wasn't so great. But they announced over 15,000 on Friday or Saturday, whatever day it was. And I mean, it wasn't 15. It was probably 13, but it's just completely different. I think we can get to a point where maybe the last game or two for the Bandits is going to outdraw the last game or two for the Sabres
Yeah,
this year.
the last two Bandits games, which could be huge for playoff seeding, are home to Rochester and home to Toronto.
Huge.
So on top of that, those are two fan bases that will travel too. Rochester and Toronto fans come out pretty good for those games. I mean, if we're fighting for a conference title and the Bandits play well the next couple home games, that game, like the Sabres announced attendance is so deceptive because Justin alluded to it earlier. It's impossible for these people to sell these tickets, the season ticket holders to sell their tickets. Like, there's a lot of seats that are bought and they can put them in their count, but a Bandits game is much more full and much louder than a Sabres game is. So there's nothing to do at this point with this team they have this year to fix that.
Yeah, no, they just have more fun. Definitely.
I almost wonder what the lowest price you could put a ticket on StubHub for is because there are, I think I counted 4 or 5 games that are $6 home games for the Sabres.
That seems to be the number that I've heard. Every
$6
time
the lowest?
$6 is the lowest. I have 3 games left this year. One is St. Patrick's Day against the Blackhawks. That will not be that.
St.
I'm
Patrick's
actually
Sunday
gonna
or
go to
St.
that
Patrick's Day?
game. It's, Saturday.
Okay.
So I believe Saturday
It's
is
the 17th,
actual
yeah.
St. Patrick's Day.
It's
this
not
year.
parade day.
On the 5th, I have a game against the Leafs, which is always going to be artificially inflated anyway. And then I can't even remember whether we have one other game, and probably not going to go to that one. So I'd probably be able to test it out for you and let you know. And because I'm always the guy that's willing to be like a penny cheaper than everybody else if it means just dumping my ticket. Like, I don't care. It's a sunk cost anyway. I've already paid $30 for it. I might as well recoup as much as I possibly can.
I couldn't go to a Leafs game with this team. I'm too invested. And
not only am I going to the Leafs game, I'm going to the Leafs game with a Leafs fan, so that should be a great time.
once
Were you
someone
going with
chirps
Mike?
at me, I can't let it go. I gotta get in it, and I don't have any good. I can't.
It's
can't
going to be
fight back.
70% Leafs fans there.
Well, it's like the Boston game. Was it like 50-50, they were saying?
It was a large contingent
Yeah.
of Bruins fans, from what I heard.
Yeah.
Aren't they glad they traveled here and lost to a Sabres team with no Eichel?
Yeah, I'm sure that a Sabres team that had played 20 hours
Yeah, it was
earlier in
back to
another
back
city,
at home with no Eichel or Kane.
previous traveling back home.
5 o'clock on a Sunday.
One could argue that may be Boston's worst loss of the season.
You're
Way to
not
go,
gonna find
Bruins.
much
Pretty
of a
safe
worse-
bet, honestly.
worse loss.
You suck. You still suck forever. But yeah, there goes our trade deadline spectacular.
Couple final shout outs on the show tonight. Shout out to the Buffalo Buttes for beating the Riveters twice in a row.
Huge.
And keeping themselves
comeback.
alive.
Big comeback
down
out there.
3-1, 13 minutes left in the third. Win 4-3 in regulation at Metro. So they're still alive for the first seed. These teams play again this upcoming weekend. And dear Lord, do they hate each other. And it's only getting worse. And they will play again this Sunday. They have one more game against against Connecticut, I believe, in the last weekend before they're back home on March 17th for their playoff game. So if you want to talk about getting your money's worth for tickets that are worth your time to watch Buffalo hockey after that Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock St. Patrick's Day game against the Blackhawks, the Buttes are across the street against either the Whale or the Pride to be determined. And shout out to the Philadelphia Flyers for being first place in the Metro because they just beat the Canadiens 1-0 after having a 10-game losing streak earlier this season.
Yeah, you're also Bucks fans, so shut up.
Put you in your place. Bucks,
Yeah, got me.
Bucks football, buddy. You don't even have Greek Freak on your team.
When's that Beats game?
March 17th.
Okay. I should know that.
You should know that. You're supposed to do color. So please make a note.
We'll have you there.
I never know.
I'll be at that Blackhawks
I pretty much
game,
never
so-
know what we're gonna. I've been so busy lately. I never know of my games. We're supposed to do until the day of.
That's the only game we have left
Just like
this year.
you
so.
coming tonight? Where?
I mean, in my
What's
defense,
this now?
we were sent a schedule of everything in like September, and I wrote them down, and I have to remind you, like literally every week. I actually I go to your Twitter inbox to pull up the UB schedule to remind you of when you're supposed to be there.
That's pretty funny. I'm a jerk.
Any other shout outs?
That's all I got.
Shout out to Nick going to WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I was gonna do a wrestling shout out, but yeah, WrestleMania's gonna be fun. We're gonna do a WrestleMania podcast.
We
in a
are.
few weeks.
We have some plans for some specialty shows, and one of them is definitely going to be WrestleMania, a preview. Congratulations to the great Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
Four main events in a row. Fun fact: John Cena in his entire time in the WWE has main evented 5 WrestleManias. This will be Roman's 4th in a row.
And the fans just won't
Eat it
stop
up.
demanding it.
Just eating it up.
We got a big show coming out soon.
We do. We have
can't
something special. We did some interviews for that show on Saturday, Justin and I.
That's
So
gonna
we're
be awesome.
very excited about this one. This is our Radio Lab This American Life shout out.
It's gonna be really cool, and we'll post more information as we get closer to a release date for it. Now, Justin was busting his ass to edit a lot of it over the weekend, which is a slow process.
I've been throwing fits over editing it. I spent about 4 hours on it so far. I'm about 15 minutes into the actual show. Pretty dope. Not really.
No, I think it's going to be fun. I think we're going to have a lot to offer with it.
I mean, is it really though? Because like we didn't go to like training for this stuff. Like, how good can it really be?
I'm not even trained, bro.
Bro, you even train?
I don't even train, bro.
Man, swole. Yeah, but we got a lot of stuff percolating.
Yeah,
So-
lots of stuff in the hopper.
In the hopper. So
Okay.
it should be a good time.
Some trivia stuff coming up too. Maybe we'll see.
Ooh, big show.
Yeah,
We're not kidding. We're
Like
having a good time. We're doing fun things.
we're doing things.
making moves, making
Even though we're not
making
trained,
million-dollar moves.
we didn't go to training or haven't been doing it for 25 years.
Technically, I have a journalism degree.
you go to
But-
Technically, but technically, so does Mike Straw. So let's settle down.
Shout
there,
out
big
to
guy.
Mike Straw for following us on on Twitter during this show.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Is there trivia host training?
I mean, Nick and I sat down for about 10 minutes once. to
There's
talk
more.
about it.
It's not really training. It's more of a boot camp.
The Bill.
It's like
Lucas
write it was more
School
like
of-
write a game
No,
of
Bill
trivia
Lucas
and
doesn't
come
know shit
out
about
in the
trivia.
middle of the. I think I just came out like he's like, here's a show. Why don't you write a game and we'll just put you in the middle of it?
Yeah, yeah,
and see
no,
how it
the-
goes.
the-
The other way,
tri-
it's one of those things you can only really learn by doing it.
Yeah.
Just like journalism. What?
What?
Isn't
I don't
that-
even know
Don't
how
you have
that...
a journalism degree?
I don't
You're
talk
trained?
about it. I mean, technically, yeah. I went for 4 years undergrad journalism. That's my undergrad.
Bill's trained.
Yeah. So there.
So we're okay then.
I
Cool.
got you out.
We're
Just
legit.
Hop on my
So
back.
if you're a trained writer on a blog site, what does that make you?
A great blog. I think it's the only conclusion I can draw from that.
Shout out to Die by the Blade.
Shout out to Die by the Blade. Say the last name again.
Dedominicis.
Chad.
Chad.
Comma Chad. We're going to do alphabetical order.
Comma Chad.
Thanks to Chad for joining us tonight. We appreciate him.
Hey, I want to do a shout out real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
To the best promo of last night at WWE Elimination Chamber, Alexa Bliss. Holy shit, that was amazing.
Gotta go watch
If
that.
you haven't had a chance to see it,
Yeah.
it is it's the end of the women's Elimination Chamber match, and it was one of those things where I was like, is she really doing this? And I'm like, oh, she can't, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy.
I heard about it and I
Watch
didn't
it.
see it.
Make
Shout
sure you
out
watch
to
it.
Sasha for stomping on Bailey Lion King style.
Yes,
Last time
That was cool.
I watched wrestling was that anniversary show for Raw.
that was a good one.
I had a great time live Facebooking it.
Good, maybe a stretch, but we had a good time.
No, it was
nostalgic.
entertaining.
It was very
It was
nostalgic.
nostalgic.
Shout out to the hole in Nick's crotch. Over
Yeah,
there.
did you see that?
I did see that. That's pretty cool.
What are you staring at my crotch all the way over there?
I just saw it once, man. That's all I need.
You want to see it again?
Yep, there it is one more time. Shout out to
Surprised to pop out of that all.
No, I'm not.
yeah, Justin's coworker, Chris. Again, Chris, I love you.
Hi, Chris.
I'm going to send you a glossy 8x10 signed, and it's just I'm just gonna write a bunch of words over it so you can feel like it's drowning you out again.
Well, good thing you're trained to write those words.
Yeah, well, I got a degree. I went to training for that. They actually do hand out certifications. It's called a bachelor's, and I'm putting it to great use as an administrator at a bank. And that's about it. I think we've covered it.
Shout out to Grandstand Sports.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, we
them,
really buried the lead on that one.
them too. And of
We'll edit
course,
that in post and put it in the beginning.
our big sponsor tonight, Ted's Hot Dogs. Thanks for sponsoring Mike's Hot Food Take. Mike, you did a great job with that.
Justin, when you edit the post, can you put the Mike's Hot Food Take music behind trivia?
Please do.
You got a
see if I
lot.
can do.
We got to cut this. Justin's got a lot of work to do tonight.
I don't do any post editing.
All right,
so.
well, we'll fix this all. Hey, God bless everybody.
Good night, y'all.